Hi and welcome back to Alistair Davies Golf. I'm here today at the Amandwire Golf Resort filming you a video on the grip. How to get the perfect grip to hit straight shots and not leak power. So today's video is all about how to create the perfect grip to hit straight shots. Also to create power as well. Quite often if we grip it incorrectly, it will reduce power also, particularly one of the facets I'm going to talk about. So what am I looking for in the grip? I'm looking for you to be able to place the club in the right part of your hands and also have it with the right, what we would call strength or weakness to create a straight ball flight. I'm going to talk you through a few little tricks you can do in order to make sure you can maintain it correctly and check where it is. So the biggest mistakes I see when people take their grip is they have the club too much in the palm of the left hand. Now what this causes is basically the arm to want to bend and a real lack of wrist control during the golf swing. So the power cannot be generated. We cannot create this kind of axie action that we'd want to do, or hammer action, because the wrist joint won't work. If I grip it more on the fingers, I will have that mobility to be able to create that kind of hammer action straight away. And that's the action obviously we want in the golf swing, the loading and unloading of the wrists, ideally at the correct time, but that's the action we want in the golf swing. Now if we grip it in the palm, like I'm talking about, we won't be able to do that. So the first secret really is basically to grip the club in the right part of the hand. So we want to grip it in the fingers. And the key when we're taking our grip when we do this is to make sure our fingers are pointing towards the ground. Now a lot of people when they do this will try and put it in the fingers, but the fingers won't be pointing to the ground. The fingers have to point directly down towards the ground, so vertically down towards the ground. And then I want the club to pass through the middle joint of my index finger here to just really almost hitting the bottom joint of my little finger. Now I'm encouraging it, if anything, to be a little bit lower, but you know, you could go a fraction higher in this, but I'd want it to be more in the fingers than anything else. So the other way of doing this would be to cradle the fingers like so, and let the club rest in that cradle, again with the idea of still the hand pointing straight down. And we want this first finger to be about an inch from the butt of the club here. Then when we take our grip, I want the thumb to be kind of 1/3 over to the right hand side. So on this grip here, I have got a dot here. I want kind of 2/3 of my thumb to be on that kind of dot and 1/3 of my thumb to be to the right, the trail side of that dot. That'll give me the kind of right position for strength or weakness. A little trick we can do is if I point my finger on my left hand out, you'll see this finger points parallel to the shaft. Now if my hand was in a strong position, if I point my finger, the finger now points above the shaft. And if my hand was in a weak position, as I call it, so too far to the left hand side, pointing the finger, my finger points underneath the shaft. So that'll give me a good guideline to whether my hand is in the correct position or not. Now if you want to do then, what you could do is draw with a Sharpie pen the placement of where this club goes through your fingers and use that as a practice glove. Obviously you couldn't use that on the golf course, that would be breaking the rules, but you could do for practice. Now when the right hand goes on, it goes on very similarly. Again, the fingers to the floor. I'm looking for it to go through the bottom two joints in the middle two fingers. And again, cradle the fingers and put it on. And again, I want the lifeline of the right hand to pressure itself into the thumb. And again, a lot of guys I see and ladies I see will have this position too high or too soft. I'm looking for it to be quite pressured into the thumb, quite hard, and that lifeline pushed in. I also then like to see a trigger finger with the last finger on the right hand, the trail hand. So there's a slight gap between those last two fingers there. And the finger and the thumb feel like they're pushing together, almost like you'd hold a pen to write with. And if this is again done correctly, you'll see this kind of muscle here in the hand bulge a little bit and it'll feel quite tense. And again, a lot of good players will have that kind of little golf ball look in here, that tension look in there, and that pressure that we put into the shaft will be able to be achieved by that kind of correct lifeline position and finger and thumb position. So also with the right hand, when we have the correct grip, if we point the finger, it'll also point down to the side of the shaft rather than under the shaft with a strong grip or to the right of the shaft with a weak grip. So these kind of little things we'd use as guides will give us an idea whether our grip is strong, weak or correct. Now the only caveat to this would be if the golf ball you hit is dead straight, I probably wouldn't fiddle with your grip too much. If you're lacking with power, then certainly check out if it's in the palm or the fingers. And if so, change it from the palm to the fingers. That should help you gain more power. but don't move it too much left or right, because obviously if you hit the ball straight, that's what we want to achieve. Now, if you're the kind of player that always sets up the golf ball with a weak grip, and you've been told you got a weak grip, and you really find it hard to change that, I'm going to show you a little way in which we can do that. So if you preset the club in what would be called a closed position, and again the amount you'd close it would depend how much you feel you're in a weak position with your grip, then take your grip as normal. Now from there, if you then try and get the club head to look neutral at address, that then will move your hands into a more neutral position. And again, you can fiddle around with how much you close the face at the start to get yourself back to that correct starting position. And again, the correct starting position would be so that the V's on your hands would point somewhere between the chin and your right shoulder. And it will depend totally on the size of your hands, exactly where they be, but somewhere in this area is what we're looking for. Now, if you have a strong grip, open the club face at address, then take your normal grip, and again, make the club face neutral at address, so aiming straight, and again, that will move your hands into a weaker position. So if you really struggle to make a change of your golf grip, I know I have in the past, this little trick can help you change your grip quite quickly and make it more neutral or more orthodox in relation to the club face straight away. So it's all about working on things that make you achieve neutralness in terms of your pattern of movement. So we want to make sure we have a straight ball flight. So again, if you hook the ball too much, move it right to left too much, there's a chance your grip might be too strong. That would be the first thing to check. If you slice the ball too much, check your grip is not weak. And again, if you struggle with power and contact on the ground, check your grip is not in the palm of your hand. Those are key things to check initially. From a physical point of view, if your arm bends a lot in your golf swing, again, check out that you're not in the palm of your hand, because that's a telltale sign that it might be. Okay, and if you need to, just take your grip, take one hand off, hold your hand up and have a look at where it's placed. So let's go ahead and go through a process. So I quite like golfers to take the grip of the club in the air. This helps get the thumb in the correct position as well. If we have the club down, it's very easy to have a longer thumb. When the club's up in the air, it's much harder to have a longer thumb, so the thumb gets a much better level. What I mean by that is I want this thumb to be close to the same length as that knuckle just there, so it's not majorly longer than it. So if I take it and cradle my fingers, put it on the hands, get that correct position, point my finger, I know I'm correct, right hand on, and again I have an overlap grip. You have choices of interlock, overlap or baseball. Generally I prefer an overlap grip, purely because if people with an interlock grip can have a lot of bad habits. With an interlock grip, it's very easy for the hands to come apart and lose that pressure through contact, and it's very easy to have opposing hands, like one hand in a weak position, one hand in a strong position. So with an overlap, if you tend to make a mistake, both hands tend to follow each other. The baseball grip, or 10-finger grip as it's also called, is quite good if you have very small hands, kind of junior kind of level hands, or ladies with particularly small hands. So you can also use that baseball grip if that is you. So that's the process I take for my grip. Then I'd bend and bow into the golf ball, take my address position, and then from there I'm just going to make a normal golf swing.